At 5:17 p.m. on May 22, 2011, the National Weather Service issued a tornado warning for Joplin, Missouri. It was a Sunday evening, and families across the city were enjoying their weekend. Graduation parties were in full swing, people were shopping at the busy Walmart on Rangeline Road, and patients at St. John's Regional Medical Center were receiving care. Everything seemed normal. The warning was routine. Joplin residents had heard them countless times before, but this time something was different. Only 17 minutes later, at 5:34 p.m., an EF5 tornado, the most powerful classification on the enhanced Fujita scale, would tear through the heart of Joplin, leaving behind a path of destruction that would forever change this Missouri city of 50,000 people. What happened in those 32 minutes would become the deadliest tornado in United States history since modern record-keeping began. Let's go back to understand how this catastrophe unfolded. The perfect storm. The morning of May 22nd started like any other spring day in southwestern Missouri. Temperatures were climbing into the 80s, humidity was building, and the atmosphere was becoming increasingly unstable. Meteorologists at the National Weather Service office in Springfield, Missouri, had been tracking a developing weather system for days. By early afternoon, conditions were ripe for severe weather. A strong low-pressure system was moving across Kansas, creating wind shear, a condition where winds at different altitudes move in different directions and speeds. Meanwhile, a dry line, a boundary between moist air from the Gulf of Mexico and dry air from the desert southwest, was positioned directly over the region. At 1:30 p.m., the Storm Prediction Center issued a moderate risk forecast for severe thunderstorms across the area. This meant there was a significant threat for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. But moderate risk days happen frequently in Tornado Alley. No one could have predicted what was about to unfold. The first signs of trouble appeared around 4 p.m. when a supercell thunderstorm began developing near the Kansas-Missouri border. Supercells are rotating thunderstorms, nature's most violent weather phenomena. They can persist for hours and travel hundreds of miles, spawning multiple tornadoes along their path. As the supercell moved eastward, it encountered the perfect atmospheric conditions. Wind shear was extreme, with winds at the surface moving from the southeast at 20 miles per hour, while winds at 18,000 feet were screaming from the southwest at 80 miles per hour. This created a horizontal spinning motion in the atmosphere that the supercell's updraft tilted vertically, forming a mesocyclone, a rotating column of air within the storm. At 5:09 p.m., Doppler radar at the Springfield Weather Service office detected rotation in the storm. The velocity couplet, areas of winds moving toward and away from the radar in close proximity, was strengthening rapidly. 8 minutes later, at 5:17 p.m., the first tornado warning was issued for Joplin. The warning that wasn't enough. The tornado warning gave Joplin residents just 17 minutes to prepare. In the age of modern meteorology, this might seem like adequate time, but the reality was far more complex. Joplin had experienced numerous tornado warnings over the years, most of which resulted in no tornado at all or tornadoes that missed populated areas. This phenomenon, known as warning fatigue, had made many residents complacent. The warning itself was standard. The National Weather Service in Springfield has issued a tornado warning for portions of Jasper County in Missouri and Cherokee County in Kansas until 6 p.m. At 5:17 p.m., a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Carl Junction, moving east at 40 miles per hour. But this wasn't just any tornado forming. Weather radar was showing something meteorologists rarely see, a debris ball signature. This appears on radar when a tornado becomes so powerful that it lofts debris high into the atmosphere, creating a distinctive signature that indicates an ongoing, violent tornado on the ground. At 5:34 p.m., the tornado touched down just west of Joplin, near the small community of Diamond. It was already an EF3 tornado with winds exceeding 150 miles per hour. But this was just the beginning. The monster emerges. As the tornado moved into Joplin's western suburbs, it underwent rapid intensification, a process meteorologists call tornadogenesis. The tornado's winds accelerated to over 200 miles per hour, and its width expanded to nearly a mile across. It had become an EF5 tornado, the most powerful classification possible. EF5 tornadoes are extraordinarily rare. They represent less than 1% of all tornadoes, but they cause a disproportionate amount of damage and death. The enhanced Fujita scale, which replaced the original Fujita scale in 2007, rates tornadoes from EF0 to EF5 based on damage indicators. EF5 tornadoes have estimated winds exceeding 200 miles per hour and can level well-constructed buildings, deforest areas, and throw automobiles hundreds of yards. The Joplin tornado would maintain EF5 intensity for much of its 22-mile path through the city. Its forward speed was relatively slow at 20 miles per hour, which meant the tornado spent more time over each area, maximizing destruction. At 5:38 p.m., the tornado struck the Walmart Supercenter on Rangeline Road. The massive retail store, built to modern building codes, was no match for the tornado's fury. The roof collapsed, trapping dozens of shoppers and employees inside. The store's steel frame was twisted into unrecognizable shapes, and debris was scattered for miles. Surveillance footage from inside the store captured the terrifying moments as the tornado approached. Customers and employees can be seen running toward the back of the store, seeking shelter wherever they could find it. The lights flickered, then went out completely as the building began to shake violently. Then, in an instant, the roof caved in, the path of destruction. The tornado's path through Joplin was devastating and methodical. It moved from southwest to northeast, cutting a swath of destruction nearly a mile wide through the heart of the city. The tornado destroyed or damaged over 7,000 homes and 500 businesses along its 22-mile path. One of the most tragic losses was St. John's Regional Medical Center, a 367-bed hospital that served the entire region. The tornado struck the hospital at approximately 5:41 p.m., just as the evening shift was beginning. The hospital's emergency preparedness plan called for patients and staff to move to interior hallways and lower floors, but nothing could have prepared them for what happened next. The tornado's winds shattered windows throughout the hospital, sending glass and debris flying through patient rooms and corridors. The hospital's roof was torn away, exposing patients to the elements. 5 people died at the hospital, including patients who were unable to be moved to safety in time. Dr. Jim Roscoe, an emergency physician who was working that evening, later described the scene. It sounded like a freight train was coming through the building. The walls were shaking, and then suddenly the roof was gone. We had patients on ventilators, and we lost power. It was chaos. The tornado also devastated Joplin High School, which had just held its graduation ceremony the day before. The school's auditorium, where hundreds of families had celebrated their children's achievements less than 24 hours earlier, was reduced to rubble. The school's iconic clock tower, a landmark visible throughout the city, was destroyed. Residential neighborhoods bore the brunt of the tornado's fury. Entire subdivisions were wiped from the map. Homes that had stood for decades were reduced to piles of debris in seconds. The tornado's winds were so powerful that they stripped bark from trees, embedded grass in tree trunks, and drove pieces of straw through telephone poles. Stories of survival and loss. Among the most heartbreaking aspects of the Joplin tornado were the individual stories of survival and loss that emerged in the aftermath. The tornado claimed 158 lives, making it the deadliest single tornado in U.S. history since the tri-state tornado of 1925. At the Walmart, customers and employees found themselves trapped under debris as the building collapsed around them. Christopher Lucas, a customer who was shopping with his family, described the experience. "We heard the warning over the intercom, and people started moving toward the back of the store. Then everything went black. When I came to, I was pinned under concrete and steel. I could hear people crying for help all around me." Rescue efforts at the Walmart continued through the night. First responders used heavy equipment to lift concrete slabs and steel beams, searching for survivors. Some people were trapped for hours before being rescued. Others weren't as fortunate. The tornado also struck during a busy time at local restaurants and businesses. At Pizza Hut on Rangeline Road, employees and customers took shelter in a walk-in cooler as the tornado approached. The cooler's reinforced walls saved their lives as the rest of the building was destroyed around them. At the Harmony Heights Baptist Church, a group of people attending a children's program took shelter in an interior hallway. The church's sanctuary was completely destroyed, but everyone in the hallway survived. Pastor Jeff Wyndham later said it was a miracle that no one at the church was killed. But not everyone was so fortunate. Entire families were lost in the tornado. The Dembowski family, Will, Roxanne, and their 5-year-old son Reese, were killed when their home was destroyed. They had taken shelter in an interior bathroom following standard tornado safety procedures, but the tornado's power was simply too great. The mysterious butterfly angels. In the weeks and months following the tornado, survivors began sharing stories of an unusual phenomenon they witnessed during the storm. Multiple people reported seeing what they described as butterfly angels, luminous butterfly-like figures that appeared to guide them to safety or comfort them during their darkest moments. Stephanie Cox, who survived the tornado at the Walmart, was among the first to report the sighting. "I was trapped under debris and I thought I was going to die," she recalled. "Then I saw this beautiful glowing figure that looked like a butterfly. It seemed to be telling me to stay calm, that help was coming. I felt this incredible sense of peace." Similar accounts came from other survivors throughout the city. Some described seeing the butterfly angels leading them away from dangerous areas just before the tornado struck. Others said the figures appeared to comfort injured victims while they waited for rescue. The butterfly angel phenomenon became part of Joplin's tornado lore, offering comfort to survivors and families of victims. While skeptics attributed the sightings to trauma-induced hallucinations or the brain's attempt to process extreme stress, many survivors remained convinced they had witnessed something supernatural. Dr. Sarah Johnson, a psychologist who worked with tornado survivors, offered a different perspective. In times of extreme trauma, the human mind can create powerful coping mechanisms. Whether these sightings were real or psychological, they provided comfort and hope to people who desperately needed it. The immediate aftermath. As the tornado moved away from Joplin and eventually dissipated near the town of Diamond, the true scope of the devastation became clear. The tornado had been on the ground for 38 minutes, traveling 22.1 miles and reaching a maximum width of nearly 1 mile. It was rated EF5 on the enhanced Fujita scale, with maximum winds estimated at 250 miles per hour. The destruction was unlike anything most people had ever seen. Aerial photographs showed entire neighborhoods reduced to bare foundations. Cars were wrapped around trees, and debris was scattered for miles in every direction. The tornado had generated so much debris that it created its own weather system, with pieces of homes and businesses raining down on communities dozens of miles away. Emergency responders faced unprecedented challenges. Many of the city's emergency services facilities had been damaged or destroyed. The fire department's main station was heavily damaged, and several fire trucks were destroyed. Police communications were disrupted when cell towers were knocked down. Despite these challenges, the response was swift and heroic. First responders from across Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas converged on Joplin to assist with search and rescue operations. The Missouri National Guard was activated, and FEMA began mobilizing resources for what would become one of the largest disaster response operations in U.S. history. Search and rescue operations continued for days. Specially trained teams with search dogs combed through the debris, looking for survivors and victims. The process was painstakingly slow and dangerous as rescuers had to navigate unstable debris piles while being careful not to cause further collapses. Heroes in the rubble. The tornado brought out both the worst and best of human nature. While the storm itself represented nature's destructive power, the response revealed the incredible capacity for human compassion and heroism. At St. John's Regional Medical Center, staff members worked tirelessly to evacuate patients despite the hospital's severe damage. Nurses carried patients down darkened stairwells, and doctors performed emergency procedures by flashlight. Dr. Kevin Kikta, the hospital's chief medical officer, coordinated the evacuation of more than 180 patients to other facilities. Throughout the city, ordinary citizens became heroes. Mark Lindquist, a Joplin resident, spent hours pulling survivors from the wreckage of the Walmart. Despite having no formal rescue training, he crawled through dangerous debris piles to reach trapped victims. "I couldn't just stand there and do nothing," he later said. "People needed help, and I was able to help them." High school students from the Joplin area organized volunteer efforts, helping to distribute food, water, and supplies to survivors. Churches throughout the region opened their doors to provide shelter and comfort to displaced families. The response wasn't limited to local efforts. Volunteers came from across the country to help with cleanup and rebuilding efforts. The American Red Cross established shelters and provided emergency assistance to thousands of families. The Salvation Army served hundreds of thousands of meals to survivors and volunteers. The science behind the destruction. The Joplin tornado was notable not just for its human impact, but also for what it taught meteorologists about extreme weather events. The tornado was extensively studied by researchers from the National Weather Service, NOAA, and universities across the country. One of the most significant findings was the tornado's unusual structure. Most tornadoes have a single vortex, but the Joplin tornado exhibited multiple vortex behavior, with several smaller tornadoes rotating around a common center. This multi-vortex structure contributed to the tornado's destructive power and helped explain why damage was so severe even in areas that weren't directly in the tornado's path. The tornado also demonstrated the limitations of the enhanced Fujita scale. The EF scale is based on damage indicators, but the Joplin tornado caused damage that exceeded even EF5 criteria in some areas. This led to discussions about whether a new category, EF6, might be needed for the most extreme tornadoes. Doppler radar data from the tornado provided unprecedented insights into tornado dynamics. The tornado's wind speeds were measured at over 250 miles per hour, making it one of the strongest tornadoes ever recorded. The tornado also exhibited unusual longevity, maintaining EF4 and EF5 intensity for much of its path. The long road to recovery. The immediate emergency response was just the beginning of Joplin's long journey toward recovery. The tornado had destroyed or damaged more than 8,000 structures, including 4,000 homes, 500 businesses, and numerous public buildings. The economic impact was estimated at $2.8 billion, making it one of the costliest tornadoes in U.S. history. Rebuilding Joplin would take years and require unprecedented cooperation between government agencies, nonprofit organizations, and private businesses. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, provided more than $500 million in disaster assistance, while the Small Business Administration approved hundreds of millions in low-interest disaster loans. One of the most challenging aspects of recovery was dealing with debris. The tornado had generated an estimated 3 million cubic yards of debris, enough to fill a football stadium several times over. Removing and disposing of this debris safely took months and cost tens of millions of dollars. The rebuilding process also presented an opportunity to improve Joplin's resilience to future disasters. New building codes were implemented that required stronger construction standards, particularly for critical facilities like hospitals and schools. The new Joplin High School, which opened in 2014, was built to withstand EF5 tornado winds and includes a safe room that can shelter the entire school population. St. John's Regional Medical Center was completely rebuilt with enhanced tornado resistance features. The new hospital includes reinforced safe areas and backup power systems designed to continue operating even during extreme weather events. Lessons learned. The Joplin tornado led to significant changes in how meteorologists forecast and communicate tornado threats. The National Weather Service implemented new warning procedures designed to better convey the severity of tornado threats to the public. One of the most important changes was the development of impact-based warnings. Instead of simply stating that a tornado warning was in effect, meteorologists began including information about the potential impacts of the storm. For example, a warning might state that the tornado could cause complete destruction of well-built structures or result in numerous fatalities. The tornado also highlighted the importance of having multiple ways to receive weather warnings. Many Joplin residents relied solely on outdoor warning sirens, which can be difficult to hear indoors or over other noise. The National Weather Service now emphasizes the importance of having weather radios, smartphone apps, and other warning systems that can provide alerts even when people are indoors or asleep. The concept of tornado emergency warnings was also expanded after Joplin. These warnings are reserved for the most dangerous situations, when a violent tornado is approaching a populated area. The language is more urgent and specific, designed to cut through warning fatigue and motivate immediate action. Research conducted after the tornado revealed troubling gaps in public understanding of tornado safety. Many people believed that overpasses provided safe shelter from tornadoes, when in fact they can create a wind tunnel effect that makes conditions more dangerous. Others thought that opening windows would equalize pressure and reduce damage, another dangerous myth. The National Weather Service launched extensive public education campaigns to address these misconceptions. They emphasized the importance of having a tornado safety plan, identifying the safest room in your home, typically a small interior room on the lowest floor away from windows, and practicing tornado drills regularly. The human cost. Beyond the statistics and scientific analysis, the Joplin tornado was ultimately a human tragedy that forever changed thousands of lives. The 158 people who died ranged in age from 5 months to 89 years old. They included students, teachers, medical professionals, retirees, and entire families. Among the victims was Dr. Cindy Huggins, a pediatrician who had dedicated her life to caring for children. She was at St. John's Regional Medical Center when the tornado struck and died while helping to evacuate patients. Her colleagues remembered her as someone who always put others first, even in her final moments. Will Norton, Jr., a recent Joplin High School graduate, was driving home from his graduation party when the tornado struck. His car was picked up by the tornado and thrown several hundred yards. His body was found days later in a nearby pond. Will had planned to attend Missouri Southern State University in the fall to study communications. The Dembowski family, Will, Roxanne, and 5-year-old Reese, were found together in what remained of their home's bathroom. They had followed all the safety protocols, taking shelter in the most protected part of their house, but the tornado's power was simply too great. Their deaths highlighted the harsh reality that even perfect preparation couldn't guarantee survival from an EF5 tornado. For the survivors, the trauma extended far beyond physical injuries. Many developed post-traumatic stress disorder, experiencing flashbacks, nightmares, and severe anxiety during thunderstorms. The sound of sirens, the sight of dark clouds, or even the smell of rain could trigger panic attacks. Dr. Michael Teague, a psychologist who worked extensively with Joplin survivors, noted that the psychological recovery often took longer than the physical rebuilding. "You can rebuild a house in a year," he said, "but healing from trauma like this can take a lifetime." The children of Joplin. Perhaps no group was more affected by the tornado than Joplin's children. The storm struck on a Sunday evening when many families were together, and children witnessed destruction and loss that no young person should ever see. At Irving Elementary School, which was destroyed by the tornado, teachers and staff had to find ways to help their students process the trauma while also dealing with their own losses. Many educators had lost their homes and possessions, but still showed up to support their students. The school district implemented comprehensive counseling programs and brought in therapy dogs to help children cope with their anxiety. Art therapy became particularly important, allowing children to express their feelings about the tornado through drawings and creative projects. Some children drew pictures of the tornado as a monster with angry eyes and sharp teeth. Others depicted their families hiding in closets or basements. But gradually, the drawings began to change, showing rainbows, rebuilt homes, and families together again. The resilience of Joplin's children became a source of inspiration for the entire community. Many young survivors became advocates for tornado preparedness, speaking at schools and community events about the importance of having safety plans. Rebuilding stronger. As Joplin rebuilt, city leaders made a conscious decision to not just restore what was lost, but to build back better and stronger. The city developed a comprehensive master plan that incorporated lessons learned from the tornado and focused on creating a more resilient community. The new Joplin High School became a symbol of this commitment to resilience. The $123 million facility was designed to withstand EF5 tornado winds and includes a safe room that can shelter 2,000 people. The building's design incorporates advanced warning systems and reinforced construction that exceeds standard building codes. Mercy Hospital Joplin, which replaced St. John's Regional Medical Center, was built with similar tornado-resistant features. The hospital includes reinforced safe areas, backup power systems, and advanced communication equipment that can continue operating even during severe weather events. The city also invested heavily in improving its emergency warning systems. New tornado sirens were installed throughout the community, and the city developed a comprehensive emergency notification system that can reach residents through multiple channels, including text messages, phone calls, and social media. The economic recovery. The economic impact of the tornado was staggering, but Joplin's recovery became a model for disaster resilience. The city received more than $500 million in federal disaster assistance, but the total rebuilding effort cost nearly $3 billion. Insurance companies paid out more than $2 billion in claims, making the Joplin tornado one of the most expensive natural disasters in Missouri history. However, many residents discovered that their insurance coverage was inadequate for the scale of destruction they faced. The disaster highlighted important gaps in insurance coverage that many homeowners weren't aware of. Standard homeowners' policies typically don't cover the cost of debris removal, temporary housing, or the increased costs of building to new, stronger codes. Many families found themselves underinsured and struggling to rebuild. Despite these challenges, Joplin's economy recovered remarkably quickly. The rebuilding effort created thousands of construction jobs and attracted new businesses to the area. The city's unemployment rate, which spiked immediately after the tornado, returned to pre-disaster levels within 2 years. New businesses that opened in Joplin after the tornado often incorporated tornado-resistant design features. The new Walmart Supercenter, built to replace the one destroyed in the tornado, includes reinforced safe rooms and advanced warning systems. Environmental impact. The tornado's environmental impact was as dramatic as its human and economic toll. The storm destroyed an estimated 20,000 trees within the city limits, fundamentally changing Joplin's landscape and urban canopy. The loss of trees had cascading effects on the local ecosystem. Without the shade and cooling effect of mature trees, summer temperatures in affected areas increased significantly. The loss of habitat also affected local wildlife populations, particularly bird species that depended on the urban forest. The city launched an ambitious tree replanting program, but replacing mature trees that had taken decades to grow would take generations. The new trees were selected not just for their aesthetic value, but also for their ability to withstand severe weather. The tornado also created massive amounts of debris that had to be disposed of safely. Much of the vegetative debris was chipped and composted, while construction debris was sorted for recycling when possible. However, the sheer volume of material overwhelmed local disposal facilities. Environmental concerns arose about potential contamination from destroyed buildings, particularly older structures that might contain asbestos or lead paint. Extensive testing was conducted to ensure that cleanup efforts didn't create additional health hazards. The role of technology. The Joplin tornado occurred during a time of rapid advancement in weather forecasting technology, and the storm provided valuable data that has improved tornado prediction and warning systems. Dual polarization radar, which had recently been installed at National Weather Service offices, provided unprecedented detail about the tornado's structure and intensity. This technology can distinguish between different types of precipitation and debris, allowing meteorologists to confirm that a tornado is on the ground and causing damage. Social media played a crucial role in both the immediate response and long-term recovery efforts. Platforms like Facebook and Twitter became vital communication tools when traditional infrastructure was damaged. Families used social media to locate missing relatives, coordinate rescue efforts, and organize volunteer activities. The tornado also demonstrated the power of citizen journalism. Residents with smartphones captured dramatic footage of the tornado and its aftermath, providing valuable documentation for researchers and helping the world understand the scale of the disaster. Mobile technology proved essential for emergency responders as well. When landline communications were disrupted, first responders relied on cell phones and mobile data to coordinate rescue efforts. However, the tornado also revealed vulnerabilities in cellular networks, as many cell towers were damaged or destroyed. Medical response and lessons. The medical response to the Joplin tornado was both heroic and instructive. With St. John's Regional Medical Center severely damaged, the region's healthcare system had to rapidly adapt to treat hundreds of injured patients. Freeman Health System, Joplin's other major hospital, became the primary trauma center for tornado victims. The hospital activated its disaster plan and called in off-duty staff to handle the influx of patients. Emergency rooms throughout the region were overwhelmed with victims suffering from traumatic injuries, lacerations from flying debris, and crush injuries from collapsed buildings. The types of injuries seen in tornado victims provided important insights for emergency medicine. Many patients suffered from what doctors called tornado syndrome, a combination of blunt force trauma, penetrating injuries from debris, and psychological trauma. The pattern of injuries helped medical professionals better prepare for future tornado events. One of the most challenging aspects of the medical response was treating patients without medical records. Many victims' medical histories were destroyed, along with their homes and doctors' offices. This highlighted the importance of electronic medical records and backup systems that can survive disasters. The tornado also demonstrated the critical importance of having multiple hospitals in a region. If Freeman Health System had also been severely damaged, the medical crisis would have been far worse. This led to discussions about healthcare system resilience and the need for redundancy in critical infrastructure. The psychological aftermath. The psychological impact of the Joplin tornado extended far beyond the immediate survivors. The entire community experienced collective trauma that affected people's sense of safety and security. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, rates in Joplin spiked dramatically after the tornado. Symptoms included flashbacks, nightmares, severe anxiety during storms, and avoidance of places or situations that reminded people of the tornado. Many survivors reported that they couldn't sleep during thunderstorms or felt panic when tornado sirens were tested. Children were particularly vulnerable to psychological trauma. Many developed separation anxiety, refusing to let their parents out of sight. Others regressed developmentally, with older children exhibiting behaviors typical of much younger ages. The community's mental health resources were quickly overwhelmed. Counselors and therapists from across the region volunteered their services, and national organizations provided additional support. However, the demand for mental health services remained high for years after the tornado. Support groups became crucial for many survivors. People who had experienced similar trauma found comfort in sharing their stories with others who truly understood what they had been through. These groups often met in churches, community centers, and other gathering places throughout the city. Anniversary reflections. Each year, on May 22nd, Joplin holds remembrance ceremonies to honor those who died in the tornado and celebrate the community's resilience. These events serve multiple purposes. They provide a way for survivors to process their grief, they educate newer residents about the city's history, and they reinforce the community's commitment to preparedness. The annual remembrance typically includes a moment of silence at 5:41 p.m., the time the tornado struck the city's core. Bells toll 158 times, once for each person who died. Survivors often share their stories, and city leaders reflect on lessons learned and progress made. These ceremonies have evolved over the years. In the immediate aftermath, they focused heavily on grief and loss. As time passed, they began to emphasize resilience, recovery, and hope. The community's ability to transform tragedy into strength became a central theme. The tornado's anniversary also serves as an annual reminder about preparedness. Local media outlets run special reports about tornado safety, and schools conduct tornado drills. The National Weather Service uses the anniversary to promote weather awareness and the importance of having multiple ways to receive warnings. Scientific legacy. The Joplin tornado has had a lasting impact on meteorological science and tornado research. The storm provided researchers with unprecedented data about extreme tornado behavior and helped advance understanding of tornado dynamics. One of the most significant contributions was data about tornado wind speeds. Mobile radar units measured winds exceeding 250 miles per hour in the tornado, providing some of the highest wind speed measurements ever recorded in a tornado. This data helped refine the enhanced Fujita scale and improve understanding of what different wind speeds can accomplish in terms of damage. The tornado also provided valuable insights into tornado structure and behavior. High-resolution radar data showed the tornado's multiple vortex structure in detail, helping scientists understand how these complex systems develop and evolve. Research conducted after the tornado led to improvements in tornado forecasting models. Scientists were able to analyze the atmospheric conditions that led to the tornado's formation and intensity, helping improve the ability to predict when similar events might occur. The social science research conducted after Joplin was equally important. Studies of how people responded to warnings, made protective decisions, and coped with the aftermath have informed emergency management practices across the country. The new Joplin. Today, more than a decade after the tornado, Joplin has not just recovered, but has emerged as a stronger, more resilient community. The city's population has stabilized, new businesses have opened, and the local economy has diversified. The physical scars of the tornado are largely gone, replaced by new construction that incorporates lessons learned from the disaster. However, the tornado's impact on the community's character remains profound. Joplin residents speak of a stronger sense of community, greater appreciation for life's fragility, and deeper commitment to helping others. The city has become a model for disaster recovery and resilience. Officials from other tornado-prone communities regularly visit Joplin to learn from their experience. The city's approach to rebuilding, focusing not just on replacing what was lost, but on building back better, has been adopted by other communities facing similar challenges. Educational institutions have also been transformed by the tornado experience. Missouri Southern State University developed new programs in emergency management and disaster resilience. Local schools integrated weather safety and preparedness into their curricula, ensuring that future generations will be better prepared for severe weather. Conclusion: remembering and moving forward. The Joplin tornado of May 22, 2011 remains a defining moment in American disaster history. In just 32 minutes, an EF5 tornado forever changed a community of 50,000 people, claiming 158 lives and causing nearly $3 billion in damage. It was nature's fury at its most destructive, a reminder of humanity's vulnerability in the face of extreme weather. But the tornado's legacy extends far beyond destruction and loss. It's a story of human resilience, of a community that refused to be defeated by tragedy. It's about ordinary people who became heroes, about neighbors helping neighbors, and about the power of hope in the darkest of times. The scientific advances that resulted from studying the Joplin tornado have made communities across the country safer. Improved forecasting, better warning systems, and enhanced building codes all trace their origins, in part, to lessons learned from this disaster. Perhaps most importantly, Joplin's recovery demonstrates that while we cannot prevent natural disasters, we can control how we respond to them. The city's commitment to building back stronger, to supporting those who suffered, and to preparing for future challenges serves as an inspiration to communities everywhere. The butterfly angels that survivors reported seeing during the tornado have become a symbol of hope and resilience for Joplin. Whether real or imagined, they represent the belief that even in our darkest moments, we are not alone. They remind us that from destruction can come renewal, from tragedy can come strength, and from loss can come a deeper appreciation for what truly matters. As we remember the 158 people who lost their lives on that terrible Sunday evening in May 2011, we also celebrate the thousands who survived, the heroes who emerged, and the community that refused to give up. The Joplin tornado was indeed one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history, but the response to it represents some of the best of human nature. Today, when storm clouds gather over the Great Plains and tornado sirens wail across the heartland, the lessons of Joplin echo in improved warnings, stronger buildings, and better prepared communities. The tornado that devastated Joplin in 32 minutes has spent more than a decade making America safer. That may be the most fitting memorial of all to those who were lost and those who survived the worst tornado in modern American history. The story of Joplin reminds us that while we cannot control the weather, we can control our response to it. We can choose to prepare, to help our neighbors, and to build back stronger. We can choose hope over despair, community over isolation, and resilience over defeat. In doing so, we honor not just the memory of those lost in Joplin, but the enduring human spirit that refuses to be broken, even by nature's most violent storms.